Oh my God, you guys come in here, sit down, and shut the door. I know you are still reeling from the federal government dropping majorly the most emotionally charged offenses against Diddy. And I put my ear to the ground and I'm seeing what is being said. But here's the thing, we have to talk about just keep your mind open, because at this point, we have to talk about everything, not just the things that we know, not just the things we want to believe, but what actually may be happening now. We need to talk about Diddy and how what the feds did might be his road to pardon. Here's the truth. Everyone's whispering, but no one's saying outright did. Did he cut a secret deal with the feds? I know, I know, I know. But hear me out. Just because the government just be, well, okay, hear me out. Let me organize the thoughts. Let's get into this, because the government just dropped all the state charges: kidnapping attempted, arson, eating, smacks, trafficking gone, and all that's left are federal charges. And if you've been paying attention, you already know you can't be pardoned for state convictions, but you can be pardoned for federal ones. And our president has signaled that if he sees evidence that Sean Diddy Combs was being treated unfairly, he would consider a pardon. Those were his words, not mine. Google it. And I didn't want to believe the whispers at first, but y'all, they're getting louder. What if the feds want this case to be federal only? And what if did he give them something or someone behind closed doors? And if so, what does this mean for justice, for the victims, and for the truth?
Present,
Don't worry,
and no
y'all.
longer
I
has a
got the
voice who will
receipts.
pursue
I got the
justice
legal
for her
play-by-play,
accusation.
and I'm gonna walk you through
As of the
everything.
taken against
The
Diddy,
headline won't tell
no
you,
expansion
y'all.
of the
Let's
investigation,
go.
no
Okay,
isolation
now,
orders,
just to catch
no
you up to
equipment
speed,
access,
if you have
no
no idea
suspension
what
of
I'm
attorney
talking about with
communication.
money, prosecutors dropped some of the most dramatic charges against Sean Diddy Combs. You guys know that was the attempted kidnapping under California and New York law, attempted arson, and aiding sex trafficking. Okay, now officially they're calling it streamlining of jury instructions, but off the record, in back rooms, people are nervous, they're whispering, and they're wondering, because this isn't just about legal strategy, this might be about a secret deal. Think about it. The state charges were the most graphic, most specific, and the hardest to erase with a pin stroke. You can't get a presidential pardon for state conviction, but for federal charges, you can. Okay, since they've erased all state and they only leave federal standing, you have to question, did he hand over names, locations, or footage that helped build a bigger case? And is this the price of playing with power at this level? Protection in exchange for silence? Because here's the dangerous truth. If this was a quiet cooperation deal, it Diddy in more ways than one. First, it makes him look less dangerous. See, you guys, no kidnapping, no arson, just your friendly neighborhood pervert. Second, it creates the appearance that the case is weakening, just appearance, softening, public outrage, just in time for the defense's big finish, which is their closing argument. And third, and this is the part people are forgetting, it opens the door to a future pardon. Remember, federal crimes can be erased by a presidential signature, but state convictions sit. So the question becomes, did the federal government just remove only things standing between Diddy and a clean political escape? And while we're asking these questions, listen, because some people are like, oh, don't worry, the state's going to bring up charges. Well, I have a question. Where are the state prosecutors? Why haven't California and New York DA stepped up and said, we'll pursue those charges ourselves? Their silence speaks volumes, and I'm going to walk you through everything. Whether it's legally possible for Diddy to cut a deal without public knowledge, how a presidential pardon could play out, and why the absence of state level action right now is either strategy or surrender. You guys stay with me, because once you understand this map, you'll see exactly what path they might be paving Okay, let's walk you through this. Like it's a legal trademark. The feds dropped only state-based crimes, not federal attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, and aiding, smacks, trafficking. They kept the federal recall, federal smacks, trafficking, and forced labor, obstruction, justice. Now, what's the legal significance of that? State crimes can't be
present, and
pardoned
no longer
by
has
the
a
US
voice who will
president.
pursue
Federal
justice for her
crimes can.
accusation.
The fact
As
that
of the
only
taken against
unpardonable
Diddy,
charges
no
were
expansion of the
removed
investigation,
raises the
no
questions
isolation
why
orders,
and why now.
no equipment
Now, some
access,
people said,
no
now
suspension
here's
of
the
attorney
thing you have to keep in
communication.
mind aren't state prosecutions. They're federal prosecutors trying to use state criminal statutes to help make their case. Now, that was rare. It's legal, but it's also very messy. Why did they include them? Because sometimes state definitions cover gaps that federal law doesn't, especially when it comes to violent or coercive conduct. So, the $1 million question, if Diddy is cooperating, why drop the state-based counts? Well, here's the plausible cooperation logic. State law-based charges are easier to drop quietly. They aren't the headline. Federal charges, like RICO, SMEX trafficking, dropping them gives the defense of a visible win without touching the big federal accounts, which the feds still need for leverage, and it signals progress and cooperation without confirming it. No paperwork has to be filed publicly at this stage, so they may have dropped the drop charges, may have been a symbolic trade-off. You help us with X, Y, and Z, and we'll make sure those state charges don't follow you after the trial. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people said, like, Robin, my girl Robin said, but wouldn't cooperation be on public record? Well, guys, yes and no, or actually not yet, and sometimes not ever, depending on how the deal is structured. Cooperation agreements are often under seal to protect against active investigations, ongoing targets who might not know they're being watched, and safety of the cooperator. The public usually doesn't find out until sentencing, when the prosecution says, Mr. Combs provided substantial assistance. We recommend a lighter sentence, under 5K1. Taking it to legal deals with cooperators are often sealed under Rule 6E of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. Grand jury materials, informant deals, and cooperation agreements can be kept secret for national security, safety, or investigative reasons. United States Veto Court actually upheld, and this is a 1995 Second Circuit decision. So it rules this case. Courts upheld sealing cooperation deals to protect identities and preserve ongoing investigations. So yes, Diddy could be cooperating without us ever seeing it publicly. And again, don't forget, cooperating with feds doesn't always look like testifying. It can mean providing names, documents, devices, and even helping decode encrypted evidence. In cases like Operation Varsity Blues, celebrities helped without testifying, but their cooperation was rewarded behind the scenes. This reputation's intact and protects the government's leverage in ongoing investigations. Now, the state may stay quiet on purpose. State prosecutors in New York and California have said nothing about refiling or pursuing these drop charges. Why? Possibilities, let's go through them. The Fed asks them to stand down during an ongoing broader federal probe. If Diddy is helping build bigger cases, filing state charges too early could expose cooperating witnesses, including Diddy, and political coordination between the dog and the state AGs is common when elite defendants involved. Now, this does mirror silent cooperation deals in major cases. Tekashi 69, he cooperated secretly. Feds minimized his charges. No early leaks. Public found out after sentencing. Let's also not forget Sammy, the Bull Gravano's case, murder charges dropped because he gave up the entire
present,
hierarchy.
and no longer
You
has a
see the
voice who will
pattern drop.
pursue justice
Some
for her
charges
accusation.
now protect informant,
As of the
cash
taken
out
against
later.
Diddy,
And let's
no
also
expansion
not
of the
forget
investigation,
that the
no
presidential
isolation
pardon
orders,
angle
no
is real.
equipment
Trump
access,
pardoned
no
multiple
suspension of
federal
attorney
criminals with
communication.
no public reasoning, including Rob Bigoli, the former Illinois governor convicted of corruption, Michael Flynn, who actually lied to the FBI, and Kodak Black and Lil Wayne under federal gun charges. If Diddy is only convicted on federal charges and keeps political connection strong, Trump or even a future president could wipe the all out away in the future. That's why the removal of state charges matters so much. There's also strategic optics. Listen, they are saying that a softened defendant makes pardon easier. There's no kidnapping, no arson, no physical violence and charges anymore. The public of opt shift from predator to music mogul who made mistakes. It's a softer image. It makes it easier for a future president to justify a pardon, especially if Diddy claims he was targeted or canceled. You guys, this is a gamble, but we have to be honest. If you look at legal precedences, we've seen before similar federal simplifications were made. In Young Thug's trial, the overcomplication led to chaos, and in the Harvey Weinstein retrial, feds narrowed the scope when cases got too emotionally driven or shaky. The strategy is go big or go home, but when you lose nuance, you also risk losing the jury. You guys, again, we are on edge. We're going into court today. They are going to have a legal battle from 12 hour to 5 hour. Feds just quietly removed the only charges that couldn't be erased by a president's pen, and no one's saying why. And Diddy gave them names, documents, or passwords. That deal could stay still forever. But what's not sealed is the fact that the state is saying silent, and silence may be the loudest clue yet. You guys, listen, I'm going to be dropping a bunch of videos today. We're going to get into this. Let me know what you think. I'm gonna have another video up probably by the time you are done listening to this. I will talk to you guys soon. Alright, stay strong. Diddy's going down, but we need to make sense of what's going on. And I hope these videos are helping you along the way. I'll talk to you all soon.